Okay, well, thank you everybody for taking the time. I know that it is a beautiful day outside, and I know that everybody would much rather be outside doing something in their yard, okay? But we're gonna try to make this short and quick, probably about a half an hour or so. My name is Tom Woodford. I'm the high school college counselor, and I kind of lead the college jumpstart program here. We also have two of our high school, two of our college English teachers who are here as well. We're going to walk you through what your kids are going to do next year. Your kids are going to take their first set of college courses. I'm very excited about that. I've got the best job that you can have in Hilliard. I get to work with kids to help them figure out where they might want to go to college after high school. But at the same time, I also get to work with a lot of students in allowing them and setting up opportunities for them to take various college courses while they are still in high school. And this year, we have 840 students who are active in CCP, and I cannot be happier for all of them. So I want to turn this over to our two college English teachers so they can introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Pam Antos. I've been teaching in the program for about 8 years now, and I'm really excited to be here tonight and looking forward to hopefully helping you understand more about how the program works.
And my name is Mary Guerrera. I also am teaching the college composition courses, and I have been for about 5 years. And we'll talk a little bit more about our experience and what the program is like. We just wanted to do a quick introduction. Pam, do you want to introduce Allison as well?
Yes, thank you. So this is an open access meeting tonight, and we are lucky to have Allison Lewis with us, who is interpreting. So you should see her video pinned to your screen, but if not, if you scroll down and find Allison Lewis and scroll over the three dots, you can add your own pin as well to make sure that you are able to access that. Thank you.
Okay.
Watch stuff. I don't know.
Screen, Mary. So some of you might be asking, what is College Jumpstart? So College Jumpstart is a package of courses where students can take at the ILC. It is, you also might hear the term College Credit Plus. College Jumpstart is College Credit Plus. Instead of our kids going to campus, instead of our kids taking various classes online, they actually go to the ILC and they will take these college classes there. The faculty from campus will come to Hilliard. And so what's neat about it is your kids get a chance to take their first few courses, and they get to meet all kinds of new folks, but everybody who's going to be in their class are going to be students from all three high schools here in Hilliard. So they will be in class with students from all three high schools. They are going to earn these are college credits, these are college courses, and they will get to earn high school credit for this as well. Some of you might be thinking, why would I want my child to take various college courses as a high school student? Well, one, it's free. And I know that gets a lot of people excited. But at the same time, kids get a chance to take a lot of the gen ed courses and that they know that they're going to have to take. And these courses will transfer not only in the state of Ohio, but they will go all over every state that is in the US. Every college in the country is going to have their own practice and their own policy on what they're going to accept as transfer credits. So the opportunity for students is to get a head start. They'll have an understanding of how college works. They will already have a college GPA. They will already have some of the gen eds finished. But it's also very important to understand that students have to be ready. So yes, your kids are on the list because they have qualified. But every year we have students that do not have success because they played high school inside of this college course, which means if it's due on Friday at noon, they must turn it in by Friday at noon. On the college side, they don't allow things to come in late. So it's important that students understand that these are college courses. They're going to be treated as if they are a college student. And whatever grade they get in these courses will also show up on their high school transcript. So these college courses will be on their high school transcript. The grade that they earn from the college will show up on their high school transcript. And then they will be actually on a 5-point scale. I know that is important to some folks, but it'll be on a 5-point scale on the high school side. Okay, Mary? So what courses are your kids going to take next year? So all of the students in year one will take English 1100. So all of the students will take that course in the fall. They'll earn 3 semester credits. Well, actually, they will earn 1 high school credit in the fall. Half of the students will take psychology 1100, and half of the students will take sociology 1101. The way that these courses are set up, they're set up just like they are down on campus. So students could have English on Mondays and Wednesdays, then they would have psychology or sociology on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They do not have college classes on Fridays. However, I will have an opportunity to meet with these students. We will start out in August, meeting every other Friday, and we will focus on them. We will look at pathways as well as majors. We will do various college searches. We will do all kinds of things to help them understand what they're going to do next after high school. So once students finish the first half of the year, they will earn a full high school credit in English, and they'll earn a full social studies credit in either psychology or sociology. Students must earn a C or better in English 1100 so they can move on to second semester. If they do that, then they will take 1 more English course, Composition 2, English 2367. Half the students will take psych, half the students will take soc. And we will still have the Friday time where they meet with me, going over college advising and things like that. We will get them ready for their senior year. We will get them ready for the application process. And so at the end of next year, your kids will earn 12 semester credits from C-State. I'm very excited about that. Again, all of these various courses will also be on their high school transcript. The grade they earn from the university will be on their high school transcript. These courses are free as long as students do not fail them, or if they drop them after the second week, then they and you as a parent would have to pay for these courses. Okay, Mary? Again, how is this going to set up? So kids could take their English course on Mondays and Wednesdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays, half the kids will have psych, half of the kids will have soc. They will be at the Innovative Learning Center for 2 periods a day, either 7:30 to 9, 9 30 till, sorry. And then the last time is 1 till 2:30-ish. So every student will be at the ILC for 2 periods. Then they will go back to their high school and take the rest of their schedule. Okay? So what are we going to do on Fridays? So if students are struggling in class, all of the instructors can raise a flag in C-State's system that I can see. I will have an opportunity to see them on Fridays and we can talk about it. If there's an issue about them being in class, for instance, if a student would not be in school on a Monday, well, they've missed half of that week's class. And so if this happens more than once, then we would have to have a chat about it. We will talk about testing, ACT as well as SAT. We will talk about scheduling. We will get kids ready for the college process. And then we get into all kinds of things as well. Okay.
Okay, so Mrs. Guerrera and I are going to talk a little bit more about, just a little bit more about our backgrounds and then briefly about what you can expect from the English courses that you're taking or that your student is taking this next year. As I mentioned, I've been teaching in Hilliard City Schools since 2006 now, so quite a while. Before that, I taught at Ohio State and at Capital University, first year composition. And again, have been doing this program for about the past 8 years and have 2 sons. I live in Hilliard, have 2 sons who graduated from Darby in 2012 and 2013, which is sounding older and older as it goes. And so we really, and I'll let Mrs. Guerrera introduce herself in just a moment, but we really enjoy teaching these classes because since we both work in the high school system, but then also are familiar with and have taught in the college world, we feel like we're in a really exciting and lucky position to help students bridge between those 2 worlds. And so we spend quite a bit of time, especially to get the semester started. We'll spend 4 of class double blocks, 4 days, helping students get oriented, making sure that they have their Columbus State email feeding into on their iPad, that they know how to navigate Blackboard because we don't use Canvas, we have to use the college system, learning management system. And so we'll really try to give them a good head start there, a jump start, as you might say. And I'll let Mrs. Guerrero talk more now.
So like Pam, I have experience teaching in Hilliard City Schools and at the college level. I actually started teaching at Darby in 2003, but then I had my oldest son, Henry, and took some time off. So while I have some experience in the Hilliard City School system, I also taught at Ohio State. Once all 3 of my boys were back in school, I started teaching the College Credit Plus classes through Columbus State, and then was lucky enough to be hired back through Hilliard. So I don't have quite as many years experience as Mrs. Antos. However, I have been lucky enough to work with her in all the years that I have worked teaching CCP courses in Hilliard. And we, I think, have a great partnership. We work really well to make sure that our students get a similar experience. And like she said, we try really hard to bridge that gap between high school courses and college courses.
So one thing that it can take a while for students to get used to, and so it's good to have conversations with your son or daughter, or if they're here tonight, to have conversations as a family about some ways that high school culture differs from college culture. Again, we're in many ways a hybrid program, but it's important to realize that the college courses are true Columbus State courses, just like English 1100 actually is titled the same at Ohio State as well. The numbers match up. And so this is the actual college course. And what does that mean actually? Well, sometimes students come in with the belief that, oh, it means the professors don't care if I learn anything and they don't care if I come to class. And, you know, we've gotten some of that from, we could probably name some movies that we've seen, gotten that impression from, but that is, nothing could be farther from the truth. Whether it's Mrs. Guerrera or myself or one of the Columbus State instructors, we very much care that students are there, work to establish a very caring and nurturing atmosphere, but at the same time to hold students to the high expectations that are typical of college. And so that has to do with the pace of the course, for one thing. You heard Mr. Woodford say that your student will get one whole year of college English credit just from one semester or from one semester of psychology. That is how college works. They cover the same material in about half the time. And so it does move at a fast pace. Students will get, of course, the syllabus at the beginning of the semester, and they can see what that pace is. And if they find out within those first 2 weeks that this really isn't what they're ready for, it's really important to be willing to step up and say that. Now, some adjustment period is certainly normal. We don't expect them to all be like, oh, wow, this is easy within the first couple weeks. But if they're really feeling like it's again, just too much on top of everything, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and have a conversation so that we can help them be where they're going to be successful and happy, as well as challenged. So the pace of the course is important. Expectations, and this can cover a lot of area, but especially that they advocate for themselves. We only see them twice a week, no matter whether it's the psych instructor or in English. And so it's really important, if they're struggling, that they advocate for themselves, that they reach out to us on email and say, look, I'm really stuck, I need help. Sometimes when students are acclimating, they will do this thing where they kind of just show up to the next class and say, well, I didn't get it done because I didn't understand it. That doesn't really work in a college atmosphere. The expectation is that if you don't understand something, which there's nothing wrong with it, we all as learners need help sometimes, but it's important that they reach out and that they ask for that help. And they will find that we're very, very responsive when they do. So that they are willing to read and be prepared for class. Again, the assumption is that when they walk in the door, they have read and prepared anything that was on the schedule for that day, so that we can use that hour and a half that we have, which still goes very, very quickly, to really dig into that material. And so it's really important that, you know, it be something that they can basically be self-motivated. That's a really big, important part of college. Following deadlines and course policies. You heard Mr. Woodford mention that late work is not accepted. That's not always true, but for example, we will take late work with a late policy and a penalty. But the important takeaway there is that it could be true in some classes, and it depends on the course. And they can't, students need to understand that each course and each department sometimes at college, and certainly at Columbus State, has certain departmental policies, and then other policies are up to the instructor. And so if they have you know, a certain instructor for psychology, and that instructor says in their syllabus that they don't take late work, and another instructor says they do, you know, that's just the way it is. And they both have to understand that and accept that that is how college works, and that knowing those policies, when we give out those syllabi at the beginning of the semester, that's a legal contract between us and the student. And so it's really important that if they have any doubts or questions about how those policies work, that they ask and make sure they know and understand those differences. Columbus State exams. In the high school world, there's been kind of a movement away from cumulative final exams in high school, I believe in many of our high schools, or in accounting very little. Understand that that is not the case in most colleges still. It is very common in psychology, for example, they will have several what are called midterm exams, which when I was going to college way back in the day, you know, Mrs. Guerrero mentioned that I have more experience. That was her polite way of saying because I'm older. No, just kidding. But anyway, you know, back in the day, you had one midterm. You had one midterm, then you had one final. That's not the case often. Often now they'll have 2 or 3 midterms. It just means something given in the midst of the term. But then they will have a final exam that just depends on how much we don't have one in English. All of ours are projects and papers, but they do have them in other courses. So making sure they understand those. And, it's really important too, if for example, hopefully it's not the case that, oh, you're going to miss finals week because you're getting pulled out to go to Florida for the week. But let's say that were the case. If you find out that's the case when you get the syllabus, you need to go talk to that instructor right away. Don't wait till like the week of finals and then spring it on them, right? That's another part of college as well. And understand that if you are missing an exam, whether it's a midterm, whether it's a final exam, Hilliard policies do not apply in these courses. So that instructor, we have found in the past, many instructors are willing to work with students, especially when students are very responsible and speak up right away, because they know, of course, that the student doesn't always have control when a family has planned a trip. However, that communication, and again, advocating for oneself is really, really crucial and important, and not expecting that, well, we called it into the high school building, that won't mean anything. The college instructors don't have any communication with the high school buildings, or very little, extremely little. So it's a whole different set of policies. And that kind of feeds into the next one, communication with instructors. So again, communication being between the instructor and the student is how college works. Even though these students are minors, they're expected to communicate with instructors clearly, to do so professionally. We'll actually do some of that training during orientation, teach them how to write an appropriate email. Of course, many already know that, but we'll refresh it because we still get some that sound like text messages sometimes. And so they're expected to handle that communication on their own. Now, if a student has a communication with an instructor, whether it's one of us, whether it's a Columbus State person, and something isn't resolved to their satisfaction, of course, you can always reach out to Mr. Woodford. But it's very important to understand that it's not appropriate, and this kind of gets into the parent involvement bullet point, it's not appropriate for the parent to reach out directly to the instructor. That's just not how college works. And if a lot of you, if you've been to college yourself, you probably remember that that's just not typical. In fact, I believe a lot of colleges don't even report grades to parents. Is that right, Mr. Woodford, I think? So, so again, the FERPA laws apply and protect students' privacy in that regard. Now, Mrs. Guerrero and I are still Hilliard employees, so we do, for example, offer parent conferences. However, because of the FERPA law, if you sign up for a conference, your son or daughter, your student has to be with you for that, to give permission for that communication to occur. So it's because the student and the conference, the communication should be between us and the student, and the parent is just kind of happens to be there listening and can ask questions, but just understand that is how that process works. And finally, peer support. It can be for students, especially who, the kind of people that those of you that do this program, you're often people that are involved in lots of activities at your school, and you're busy, you work maybe part-time, you may play sports. And so it's really important we try to build a really communal atmosphere where you feel comfortable giving each other peer support and reaching out to peers. If you're absent, checking with a peer, checking with the syllabus before you contact the instructor. We try to avoid the classic, did I miss anything? Of course you missed something. There was an hour and a half of class that happened without you. So check with a peer first. We really encourage students. We try to, again, think of it, since they're coming from all three buildings, to kind of form a little microcosm of what college is like, and having a study buddy, having someone else that you're friends with who can kind of help you understand the demands of the program. We really encourage that and like to see that happen. Mrs. Guerrero, what else would you add to any of that?
Not much. You did a wonderful job. I think the only thing that I would add that I was thinking about as you were talking was for the bullet point about being willing to read and being prepared for class. For our class in particular, it's really important that students are willing to and able to read and respond to feedback. Our writing process is very, it's a process. It's determined on the feedback that you will get from your instructor and making your writing better. It's rarely the case that you'll turn something in and not look at it again. So it's really important that, not only are you willing to read the textbook, but also be willing to read the communication that we have about your work as well.
great point.
So under state law, every high school student who is going to take a college course has to have an academic advisor on campus. And this lady, every year, I find a time to bring her to Hilliard on Friday so she can meet with all of our students. She will go over various pathways and majors. She'll go over the different types of resources that are on campus. Even for a high school student, they have access to all of the writing labs and various things that they offer there on campus. She will go over that, and I will make sure that all of our students know her. So what happens if students do not have success? So as I think I had said earlier, for English 1100, for kids to be able to move on to the second semester English course, they have to earn a C in English 1100. If they earn a D, they still get the credit, but they cannot move on to English 1100 or English 2367. College Jumpstart's a package. Kids are either in all of the courses or they're not in any of the courses. So if you can go back one more, I'm sorry. So if students do not qualify for English 2367, then they will have to drop all of their courses for second semester. Also, under college credit law, and when I say law, this is written into the statute, okay? That if any students who are taking college courses while in high school, if they have under a 2.0 college GPA, then they are on probation, which limits them to be able to take more courses in the following semester, okay? Now, tuition is free. We will already have the books in most of our courses that we will offer at the ILC next year. All of the instructors wanted, they got new versions of all of the textbooks. I've already ordered them, so they will be here and students will get them at each of their high schools. So we will have the books there. As I said, they're free unless students fail them or if they drop them after the second week. If they would lose a book, they're going to have to pay us back for that book so we can replace it, okay? And if that happens, then because Hilliard has already paid the fee, I will put what is owed in the student's home access account, and then parents can reimburse Hilliard schools, okay? So again, these students are sitting in a college class. They're going to be sitting with faculty from campus. They will be treated as if they are a college student. FERPA laws mandate that, okay? It's important that students are checking their C-State email in excuse of, well, I haven't checked email in 2 or 3 weeks. That doesn't work, okay? And so I know on the high school side, we get a little bit more gray. We can bend a little bit more. On the college side, it's not going to happen. So it's important that kids are ready for everything it's going to take them to be successful in these courses. Students will use Blackboard. Both of our English teachers will show them in the first couple days while they are in school, show them exactly how that works, how they will post the assignments. Many of the instructors will actually put the exams and various tests and quizzes in that same account. So it's important that kids are using that system and they're using it every day.
Can I just add a note real quick? This is kind of when we talk about being advocating for yourself too. During orientation, we will give students the phone number for the Blackboard or tech support at Columbus State. And, so if they, for example, can't get in and their password's not working and whatever isn't, working, they have to take that initiative. Like, we can't reset their passwords or upload assignments for them. Like, they have to contact CSCC tech support and kind of take that initiative the same way that they would, of course, if they were actually attending downtown. So that's just another opportunity to realize that you have to kind of step up and advocate and problem solve. We will certainly help. We will remind them, remember, here's that number. You need to call, you can step out of the room and call if you need to during class, if you're stuck and can't get in, but it's important that they be willing to problem solve.
And I think it probably is still an option within the home buildings for students to go to the Genius Bar at their media center, but sometimes whoever's working there may not be familiar with Blackboard. And so, unless you happen to get a student working there who has taken a CCP course and, might be able to help in that way. But again, advocating for yourself, calling the help desk at Columbus State, they're very friendly and very helpful. And it's a great experience to learn how to speak to someone on the phone and problem solve, troubleshoot together. So we highly recommend that students, do that on their own.
And just one more note, then I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Woodford, to kind of just add on to what Mrs. Guerrero just said. I know we've kind of been doing a lot of, they have to do this, they have to do this, they have to do this. But I think what we're seeing now as our students just finished their whole first year is the pride that they have when they actually see that they can be very resilient. This year, my goodness, right? They've had to prove resilience in more ways than any teen ever should have to. But we want to just make sure that it's clear that we do support them along the way, and that it's a great feeling of accomplishment for them when they are able to completely handle this on their own and with very minimal assistance and advocate for themselves.
Okay, so I know a lot of students as well as parents want to know, how are these college courses going to impact their high school transcript as well as their high school GPA. All of the courses inside Jumpstart, they will be on a 5-point scale, okay? Not all College Credit Plus classes are on a 5-point scale. The way the state law reads is any course in a subject area at the high school that we would weight, any course on the college side, we would have to weight that at the same weight. And so all of these courses that are taught at the ILC will be on a 5-point scale. What's important for these students to understand, not only is it impacting their high school GPA, but they are starting a college GPA. There are some schools out there like Bowling Green that will accept students and bring them in as a freshman. And if they have any college credits, their college GPA that they already have is what they start with. We've had some students in the past not be very successful, and when they went to Bowling Green, they got accepted, they started school. On the second day of class, they got a letter saying they were on academic probation from Bowling Green because of their college GPA that came with them. Schools like Ohio State will accept these credits as credit. They will not take the GPA. So every school in the country is going to have their own policy on how they will accept all of these credits as well as a GPA.
Okay, I think I get to talk about this one. So it's also important for you to understand, both students and parents, that there is an academic misconduct process through Columbus State. So unfortunately, Mrs. Antos and I have not had a school year where we have not had at least one academic misconduct case that we have had to report to Columbus State. And what that means is that typically a student submits a piece of work that is not their own, that they represent as their own. It's typically plagiarism when we're talking about essays. Mrs. Antos and I have our students submit all of their written work through a website called Turnitin, which is a very large database that is also able to search internet websites just to make sure that there aren't any large highlighted matches between what the student is turning in and something that already exists out there. So what you all need to know is that if that is the case, if we discover that a student has submitted something as their own and it's not actually their own, they will automatically receive a 0 for that assignment. And then what happens is that we are required by Columbus State to submit a form through the Office of Student Conduct, just explaining the situation, what the assignment was, which student was involved. Sometimes it's students because they're sharing work with each other. And that's something that we talk about at the beginning of the school year in our orientation is basically what constitutes plagiarism, what constitutes unauthorized collaboration, because sometimes they are allowed to collaborate and write together. But if it's something that we are assessing and it's supposed to be individual and they have worked together, then that counts as plagiarism as well. So we, again, fill out a form, we briefly describe what happened, and then at that point, the Office of Student Conduct kind of takes over and they notify the student of the alleged violation, their options to respond. What Mrs. Antos and I really like about the Office of Student Conduct at Columbus State is that they treat this as a learning opportunity. They really want students to learn from their mistakes and move forward. It does say under number 3 that sanctions will be enacted, and that makes it sound pretty serious, but at the same time, they really, they wanna make sure that the students, again, enact the proper learning so that this will not happen again. Now, there have been times when a student will request a hearing to refute the allegation. That is very rarely the case because most of the time the students are aware of what they've done. And so like number 4 very rarely applies to our student situations. And again, the students in the past that we have had this happen to have been willing to work with Columbus State, again, have learned from their mistakes and are able to move forward. But it is also important to understand that a 0 on a major writing assignment is going to hurt a student's grade pretty significantly. So it's important that students, and again, we try to teach them up front what plagiarism is and how to avoid it, so that we don't have many of these cases. Mrs. Antos, is there anything you'd like to add?
I think I would just add, I know that sometimes when we talk about this, you know, so many of you out there, you're great students, and you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, you're panicking about how to avoid it. Again, realize that we spend a lot of time teaching you how to use sources properly. And when these cases happen, doesn't of course mean they're bad people. They're people who've just panicked and made mistakes, usually is what happens. Or, you know, haven't paid attention to what they've been taught or for whatever reason. And so it really is a mistake. It's not, we don't treat it like it's, you know, an evil act, so to speak. With that said, you do need to understand that you don't get free do-overs because that's just not how college works. The good news is, even if you go through all this process, if it's just that first level offense, yes, it stays on the Columbus State record so that if it happens again, obviously the penalty would be more severe, but it's not like they contact every university out there and tell people, like no one else would even know it happened, right? So again, I want to strike that balance between making sure you understand it is significant and it is a significant disciplinary issue, but it's also not the end of the world. And so, you know, just understanding that just really, and to the students out there listening, just know it is never worth it. It's always better to turn something in late and to get, you know, to reach out and ask for help if you're stuck, even if it means you miss a score on a draft or something. There's always a better solution than resorting to that. But don't worry unnecessarily about it because we will cover that instructionally probably to the point where you'll be sick of hearing about it. So.
And we also want you to know that we use the Turnitin website as again, a teachable tool rather than as a gotcha kind of thing. We typically will show students prior student samples and show them the highlighted matches. And it's often appropriate for there to be highlighted matches if you're doing a research paper, because you're having to quote and cite other sources. So as long as you're doing that correctly, you know, some students see that they have a certain percentage match and they get really anxious, but then we're able to show them, well, look, it's within quotations and you've cited it correctly. So that's not a problem. So it really is a nice teaching tool. We don't use it as a, you know, as a kind of, like I said, gotcha. It's really more, again, so that you are prepared to do college level writing.
And again, it's not, oh my gosh, you forgot to cite one quote and now it's plagiarism and everything else was cited. We're talking about cases where somebody turns something in and it's a 95% match with another student's paper. And yes, that happens about once a year to some extent, because it just does. And people get desperate and make mistakes. But we're not talking about the accidental forgot one place kind of situation. So thanks.
So I think that we've already talked about this. It is very important that kids are in class. If they know that they're going to miss class because of vacation or something like that, it's important that they get into contact with their instructors early so they can figure out what the plan is, so they can get things turned in, but they can figure out what is the plan and what is the expectation from that instructor. Okay, and I think it's already been mentioned, it could be different from one instructor to a separate instructor. So that's why it's important to chat with folks early.
That last bullet point may be a little bit confusing, so we just want to make sure you understand. Columbus State's grading period starts later and ends earlier than Hilliard's, and it does say to be aware of those dates and deadlines, but it is important for our students to understand that they're still expected to be in class, especially in that first week of school before Columbus State officially starts. That's when Mrs. Antos and I run what we call our orientation, and we get you all set up with your Columbus State email account and your Blackboard account, and just making sure you're getting acclimated to the Jumpstart classes and the culture at the ILC. But it's also important that you understand that we follow Hilliard's no school dates in the middle of the semester. So if Hilliard is off school, then the Jumpstart classes are as well. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, so a few other reminders. If you are sick, obviously we don't want you to, I know we've been emphasizing not missing school, but obviously, especially in the midst of a pandemic, if you're sick, we want you to stay home and take care of yourself. Just make sure you let the office know that you're an ILC student, because we don't have an attendance office per se at the ILC, which means when you call your home building, I think they have to go to navigate to a separate screen to excuse you from your ILC classes. So just kind of get in the habit, parents and guardians, if you're calling a kid in, to say, also they go to the ILC for College Jumpstart, and they'll look at that. We talked about checking email, how important that is. I want to also emphasize students, especially out there, and parents and guardians, let them know they should be checking their Hilliard email starting mid-August too, because if we can't communicate with them with their Columbus State email until Blackboard goes live, and of course until we help them set it up if they haven't done that over the summer themselves. So we may use their Hilliard email addresses to send some reminders about the calendar for orientation and that sort of thing. So start checking their Hilliard email mid-August. Mr. Woodford, you want to talk about the OHSAA?
So every year we have a few students who are active in College Prep Plus, who are active inside of our College Jumpstart program. And these athletes want to go on and play either D1 or D2 sports. And so all of the classes we have inside Jumpstart, I have submitted to the NCAA. They have all been approved. They show up on Hilliard City Schools 48H form through the NCAA. And so all of these will count towards the 16 core courses that they need so they can be eligible for sports.
And just a reminder again, they have access to all resources on campus. We will show them how to navigate to the free online tutoring where they can get additional feedback on their papers called the Net Tutor. We'll show them how to do that as well. One final point we just wanted to make sure is clear that if there's anyone listening who your son or daughter or you yourself qualify for accommodations through either a 504 plan or an IEP, yes, those absolutely do qualify you for college assistance typically. However, it's extremely important that you understand that you have to register with Columbus State's Office of Disability Services. And long story short, it's two different laws that cover. The K-12 world is covered by the IDEA law. College world is covered by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So oftentimes in the high school world, students will qualify for accommodations that don't happen in the college world. And so that's why they have to go through that intake process with Columbus State. It's very easy. It's right there. You can even just look up Columbus State Disability Services, but the link is there. Mr. Woodford's going to send this out to everybody. Do that early. Understand that legally, college faculty cannot provide any accommodations until that process is finished. And it takes at least a couple of weeks by the time they look over your IEP or 504 plan, and they can do the intake interview on Zoom if need be, but have some kind of intake interview, decide, yes, you qualify for extended time on exams or something like that, or to have a scribe or another service. Realize that I've never seen them grant extended time on assignments. It's just important to be aware of that. That often happens in the high school world. Because you have the syllabus from the beginning of the semester with all the due dates, they will provide extended time on quizzes, tests, but I've never personally in 8 years seen them do that for assignments. So just understand that that is the case. But the important thing is to get in contact with them. And then your student will also have an advocate in that office who is their advocate who will communicate with them and help. And they provide wonderful assistance. But if you don't reach out and register with them, it's not available to you. So please make that a priority this summer if that is something that you would like to take advantage of.
So we have thrown a lot at you right now. Some of you, I see names on the screen here that have had kids that have been active in College Credit Plus over the last 5 or 6 years. You've been through this before. Some of you, this might be your first child. So if you have questions, feel free to send me an email. Write down everything that you're not sure about. I will answer all of your emails. If you want to schedule a time to meet, we can schedule a Zoom meeting or something like that. But we're here to answer all of your questions. So feel free to send me an email. And we also have one more slide too. If you would follow us on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. I send out all kinds of information about college, not only about Jumpstart, but ACT, SAT, scholarships, internships, things like that. So feel free to follow me. And very rarely will you see any pictures of my family. Every once in a while, one might sneak in, but this is used just as a resource for all of our families in Hilliard City Schools. I thank you. It is a beautiful night out there. I think I still have time that I can mow my front lawn. But this is an amazing opportunity. This year, as I said, we have 840 kids who are active in taking college courses. Probably about 780 of them have had great success and are going off to college with so many credits. They have transferred. I've talked to so many kids that they've been able to finish up college in 3 years, or they've been able to add a second major. They've been able to maybe study abroad because they had all of these credits at a time. This is very different than taking AP courses. So for a brief moment, I want to explain. College Credit Plus is when they're actually taking a college course and they earn a college credit. An AP course is a high school course. The kids do not get any college credits from taking an AP course. They take an AP exam in the month of May, they still do not earn any college credits from taking that test. They get their scores back from the AP exams over the summer. But when they go off to college, the college that they attend may grant them credit for their own courses based on the score from that test. So that's how College Credit Plus is different than AP courses. Again, I'm so glad that all of you are here. If you have questions, I'm sure I'll get quite a few various types of emails later today. Give me some time, but I will try to answer them hopefully by the end of the night. So have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.